It's the Inspirational Power Hour, and it's your host, Chandra Wise. Now, today, guys, listen, we have with us, this guy is an amazing vocalist, recording artist, songwriter, industry professional, and I'm talking about none other than Mr. Ted Winn. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm well. How are you?
Listen, I am fantastic. Listen, I'm so super excited to get a chance to talk to you today. Thank you for taking time and talking with us.
Thank you. My pleasure.
So, Ted, I know that you've been doing this for a while, and I actually remember you from your early days with Richard Smallwood.
Right.
And I also know you from the group that you had with Sherry Moffitt, Ted and Sherry, an amazing group, and I know you guys recorded together as well. But for any of our listeners that might not be familiar with you, tell everybody how you started. How did you actually get your start in gospel music?
I started from Memphis, so I started in Memphis, and I was in a community choir, actually, initially, the Voices of Binghamton. That's where I met Sherry. I started a group, rather, during that time. Sherry was in the group. We quickly determined that we were the group. So we dissolved the group. I dissolved the group, rather, and we started singing. During that time, though, I was writing as well. So even before there was a Ted and Sherry project released, or I was on a Richard Smallwood project, I was writing. I had written for Bishop Jakes, Tamla Man at the time, but Bishop Jakes and no, that's not true. Tamla Man, Bishop Jakes, and Beverly Crawford, all before our record came out. So I was already kind of inside the industry on the creative side, and then the Ted and Sherry record came out in 2001. I've been, moving ever since.
And one of the things that I miss about today's music industry is getting a chance to really read those credits and read the jackets of the albums and the CDs and things like that. We don't have that much anymore, but and we would really get a chance to find out about the songwriters and producers. Like, I remember also you did "Thank You for Your Grace." Now, was that on Bishop Jake's album?
Yeah, "Thank You for Your Grace" I led. That was on the New Birth project, but the song I wrote was a song called "Marvelous" that Beverly Crawford led on the Bishop Jakes and the Pilot House project.
And you see, that's right. I mean, guys, listen, when I tell you, you've been around for a minute, and he's written so many great hits. Ted, I think we were together earlier this year at Myron Butler's conference, his songwriters conference, and you shared and presented there and just did an amazing job. So you are very, very knowledgeable about the business side of the industry. What prompted you to delve into that side of gospel music?
Coincidentally, it was that particular song. I co-wrote that song. Actually, Myron and I wrote "Marvelous" that Beverly Crawford led on the Bishop Jakes album. And I had signed what is known as a co-publishing deal. Didn't really understand what it was. And so the short version is, part of my money was going to a company. And that made me just pause for a second and say, okay, I need to really take some time and understand the business and how it affects me as an art creator. Because these are songs I'm writing, songs I'm creating, and I want to make sure that I understand how the business side of this works. And that was the beginning process of me talking to Donald Lawrence, who educated me a lot, talking to my lawyers, and literally just reading and educating myself on the business.
So what do you think is the biggest mistakes that artists make when it comes to their business, and not just in gospel music, but in music period? What do you think is the biggest mistake that artists make?
I think they just are not. Most of us are purely creative, and we love the art. We love creating songs. We love, singing those songs, whether it be in church and in theater, outside of the festival, wherever it is. We love sharing those creations because, in large part, we like to see the reaction that we get from people. So, when you hear people say, "Your song moved me, it motivated me, helped me through a rough time," like, that's rewarding. That's what you want to hear. So, because most creative people are just focused on that side, they do not take the time to understand the business. And so anytime you start creating things and you start to sell it, as commerce, there's some things you need to understand about what's fair, what's equitable, how you get paid. And I can't tell you how many people I've spoken with who just are completely clueless. And so I often say, if you're not going to make yourself a student of the business, then you should definitely surround yourself with people you can trust and people who will help you to understand the things that you don't know, so that you're just not, basically walking in the dark. So I'm telling you, it happens so many times to so many people, and so many people get taken advantage of.
All right, again, guys, we are talking to Ted Winn, and he is giving us some great information and some great knowledge about the music industry. So you got to make sure that you stick around. But Ted, we're also talking about your new music. Now, you had an amazing hit that really did well this year, Stand in Awe, and you also have a new Christmas song. So tell us all about that.
Stand in Awe is a single song that I wrote, and I like to say it's like my poem to God that really just talks about the awesomeness of God. And obviously, when you think about the word awesome, the root word is awe, which is usually interpreted to be when we are in a space that renders us speechless, but we don't even have the words or the capacity to articulate how we are feeling and what we are going through. And I think that as it relates to my reflection of my life, I'm just in awe of all that God has done and how I appreciate God for showing up in my life.
All right, guys, again, we are talking to Ted Winn, and listen, he's going to be back later on in the show talking about more about the gospel industry and also his latest song, Holiday Love. But right now, guys, let's take a listen to Ted Winn, Stand in Awe, right here on the Inspirational Power.